This is what we need. Sinking the figure for a while. Surviving through the Milky Way, I see your soul smile. The essence of our souls intertwined. Moving through the cosmos, and God knows the power we have combined. Our souls are lighting like the seasons. We don't need a reason. Just ease in your mind. Come and burn. I can feel energy.
Let's clear out the audio. Welcome.
This is what we need. I can feel your energy.
Thank you for clearing the audio.
This is what we need. I can feel your energy. Sinking for a while. Sliding through the Milky Way, I see so silent. The essence of my soul intertwined. Moving through the cosmos, and God knows somehow we have combined. Our souls are lighting like the seasons. We don't need a vision. Just ease in your mind. Come and burn. I can feel your energy. There's no energy. I can feel your energy. This is what we need. I can feel your energy. This is what we need.
Good vibes. You know what, Kaylee? I actually wasn't. I thought I was going to take the day off. I intended to just take tonight off, but a couple of hours ago, God said, "No, you need to go do your things." I'm here. I've got some music, some true crimes, and some Reiki, maybe reading also to do. So I hope that I can help boost the mood. I felt like my people might need some support. So I got you. Collectively speaking. But let us start with some herbology and some Reiki while I also work on seeing if I can clear out the audio. And I hope that you guys are all right as well. Thanks for being here. I hope your night's better, babes. This one slaps. Dale. Does anybody else hear like popcorn kernels popping? That's not what it sounds like, but it's what it sounds like. I don't know why. God bless. Thank you. Make sure the audio is nice and crisp. Thank you for the likes and subscribes. That's right. Good looking out, team. Oh. Oh, also, I redid a set and then I took off. I had another vision for this hand, so I stripped them off again, and I didn't have enough time to finish them before coming back here, so I might do that while I'm here. We also might do some yoga. I don't know how long I'll be here. God said a couple of hours. 3 to 4 maybe, I don't know. We'll see. I'm listening. Thank you also for the help. And clearing the audio, that would be lovely. I'm listening. Thank you. Love you. Thank you. Kindly. All right. Do you see this? Is it going to register? We'll see. Agrimony. Communicate clearly. Empathize and listen also. I also have be optimistic. As well as some ladies' mantle. This is for feminine energy, to tap into very high priestess like soft feminine energy. Solomon seal oil also I have. This is really good for a number of things, including inflammation reduction. Subsequently, be mindful if you're ever using Solomon seal oil. Understand that there are many types, multiple types of Solomon's seal. Some of it is an oil that you use topically on the skin, kind of like CBD if there's pain, you locate it specifically. Externally though. And then there are also tinctures that you can take by mouth, but you do not want to consume the oils and the topicals in your mouth. They are different. Solomon seal tincture versus Solomon seal oil. Don't mix them up, and know how to take them correctly, please, if you're using them. So, that's that. Somebody says, which do you prefer? I have both. I like the tincture for what it is, but the oil also works kind of in its own right. I don't know if I would necessarily compare them. I think they work really well together, especially if you're dealing with chronic pain, right? One neutralizes some of that internally, and the other helps soothe it, especially bringing down inflammation externally. Like, if somebody were to take, let's say, like a Tylenol or an Advil or something to start trying to reduce a fever or pain, but then they also put like a heat pack or an ice pack on the outside of it, one is not going to fix the whole problem necessarily, but the combination can help the healing process. Just depends on what you need and what you prefer, but it's just food for thought. And don't mix them up. Please don't eat the oil, and I don't even know if using a tincture topically would work, but you definitely don't want to put the externals in your mouth. Know the difference. There is a difference. Look, we've got incels in the chat. Incels in the chat. You tell on yourself when you do that. Yeah, no, I don't advocate for kratom here. Kratom is a opiate. It's like heroin. If somebody gets addicted to an opiate or an opioid, it wouldn't be a difficult or a far-fetched move for them to transition to something harder, like opiates down the line. Spice is another thing. Don't do that shit. But I've seen opiate addicts use kratom when they can't find any heroin. So don't do that shit. In fact, Mr. George Clinton Eisworth used to do that, so don't do that shit. Probably still does, for all I know. I don't deal with him, but, you know, he still stalks me. But look, now the incel's apologizing. What do you mean? First you came here to sexualize me, now you're sorry about it? Aww. Guess the pretty girl on screen's much deeper than you thought. Guess I don't look like everything I've been through, eh? OnlyFans. Oh, I'm sorry. That was fast. That didn't take you very long. Hey, Bandana, what's up? Why is your skin color purple? Is this a race you haven't heard of? Yes, I'm an alien. Ooh, spooky bitch. An angel. Is that Kiel, baby? My color is purple, violet. A violet amethyst flame. Keeper of the twin flames. Lumi, the Seraphim Emerald Gem Alien. Exactly. Let me tell you something funny. This guy, he was my business partner. He owned the crystal shops around here, and we were in the process of writing books together. I was doing the spiritual side of the crystals, writing about them, specifically crystals here that had not been written about anywhere yet, local crystals. And he was a historian, a geologist, and an entomologist. So by profession, he was a teacher, a scientist, meaning he was very good with fossils and they called him the bug man. Entomology, fossils and creepy crawlies and different creatures. He knew a lot about nature. He was a historian, meaning he was also a history buff, like deep history educator, and very good. There was always something to learn, always some adventure. He always knew some fact about something somewhere, whether it be like a street somewhere or a tree. Or one time we drove by a place that had it was another town overlooking the ocean, and we drove by a house there that had like a balcony way at the top, almost like on the roof. It was on the roof, like a watchtower. And he taught me about the widow's watch, which is when a captain usually would build a house at the top of a hill in the town, and whenever he would go out to sea, or sailor captain, his wife would stay home, and she could go to the very top, the widow's watch it was called, and look out to sea, just to see if she could see the ships coming back into the harbor, because this was a time when they didn't have telephones. They might have had telegrams at this point in some cases, but even those came kind of far and few between sometimes, especially if there was a sailor, a captain or something that was busy out at sea. But she would go up there and watch and wait and hope that her husband would come back. And the reason it's called a widow's watch, he explained to me, is because she was watching in hopes that she didn't become a widow. She hoped that he would eventually come back through the harbor. Just a little bit morbid, but also kind of weirdly sweet and endearing. Like to build a whole section just to wait for your love to come. Sad, but also morbidly beautiful nonetheless. Right, kind of like morbidly romantic, that's right. Yeah. So they called him the Bug Man. And he was also a geologist, like I said. So there was always something to learn and talk about, always some adventure. And one day he told me, sometimes people ask me about you. They ask me what I'm up to and, about my business partner. And, they'll ask, oh, what's she like? So he was explaining what they would ask him. They'd ask him about me, what is she like? And he'd say, well, this is what he told me his response ended up being after a while. Well, she's an alien who doesn't wear underwear. And I'm like, Tony! That's fair, but but I mean, was he lying? Somebody says, how does he know? Because he is my gay best friend and my business partner. What do you mean? Wild story about that, too. One day, so how I met him initially was that I moved to Bangor to escape some domestic abuse I experienced with my biological father, actually. I was 18. I moved away and ended up moving to a few towns over with a boyfriend, the boyfriend that I'd been seeing for a while, summer. He realized what was going on and said, well, you don't need to be there. So I moved up there and ended up sharing an apartment with he and another one of his friends at the time. And who turned out to be the upstairs neighbor but Mr. Tony Soames. I hear Take Me Back to Eden. Winged insect to your funeral pyre. Somebody's mad. should do voiceover work. Oh, Big Wild, I like this one. So I lived there for about a year. We became very close friends at the time, and I moved away. I broke up with this boyfriend, moved away. I was also going to college there at the time, but I moved away, moved back here, and as it turned out, he didn't know I was moving. It was kind of like a last minute decision to switch gears, and it was the right thing to do. But he had just started renting a property in the same location to open another branch of the crystal shop. Just happened to be. As I was moving back, he was opening shop in the same town. So we started spending a lot more time together. And at first, he had an apartment that he was also renting down here. So one there and one here, and he would go back and forth between the businesses. But then eventually, the one down here was being used so infrequently, it just didn't really make sense to use it. So he would just, on the days he was here, travel. And then sometimes, because it was just inconvenient to go, hour one way or 2 hour round trip, sometimes he would crash here. I'd let him crash on the couch. Or like we'd have plans. We'd plan to go to like a art gallery or a swimming or some kind of adventure, and it just made more sense to all be in the same location so we could either end the night together. Sometimes we'd go out, like have dinner, meet friends, and what have you. So we could all wake up and have an adventure at the same time without any travel. We'd all be in the same space, or subsequently, it just made sense if we were all getting together in the evening to all end up, like, he didn't have to worry about driving. If he wanted to have drinks with dinner, that was fine. We were right here. So adventures with good, yeah, he was one of my anchor people. Like, if I didn't really want to leave the house or didn't feel safe to do so around other people, he was one of the only people who could get me out of that. Partially because he was willing to bet his teaching and education reputation as a professional on working with me as a psychic medium. He knew I was legit. And therefore, when something was off, like if I felt a weird energy, or I knew we were just not around the right crowd or something, or something was off with one of the scenes, a bar scene or a restaurant or wherever we were at, he would listen and be really good at kind of just going with the flow and shifting into the next place or the next thing. Or we'd go for a walk at the beach instead or something. That's always a vibe. So yeah, also he was the one that I went, and when they were getting ready to drop off, you don't want to pull them off of the plant, but when they're loose to the point where they're ready to drop anyway, that's when, like, just the point where wind would blow and the petals would fall off. We'd collect wild rose blossoms and make, yeah, he was a good guy. I have rose water. Did that a number of times too. Home skillet. But there's more to this story. Just a quick straight shot to the main point. After all of that context, like, so I met him in college, yeah. One day we had gone swimming and had a nature adventure, and he was sitting on the floor with a box full of like fossils and nature stuff, going through them one by one, teaching my daughter, who was like 3 or 4, maybe 5 at the time, about each one. And I started getting flashbacks to 4th grade, being in 4th grade, and having this guy come in with jars full of like embalmed snake skeletons and all like double-headed fish and all kinds of weird stuff that he sold at the rock and art shop. I'm like, wait, I got flashbacks of 4th grade. It's like, T, did you did you teach Miss Blaney's class in 4th grade? And he said, yeah, why? And I did the math and I said, you taught Miss Blaney's class this year and did it. And he said, yeah, why? I said, Tony, that was my class. It's just getting flashbacks of you teaching me in 4th grade while you were teaching her on the living room floor. Yes, the story gets better. So as it turns out, I actually met him in 4th grade. Crossed paths with him as he ended up as my upstairs neighbor when I was in college, and I didn't realize it then. And then I figured it out after we had become business partners when I moved back to town and he happened to be starting up a new branch of the business in the same town. Homes kill it. Also, he loved Geronimo, the Native American. He was very partial to that story and that Native American in particular. Love to the ancestors. Love you, T. Somebody's like, that was a good story. Like that one. I have all kinds of stories like that. See, but stuff like that, like things that, and objects moving without anybody clearly touching them and on their own. Me knowing things were going to happen or crossing over a spirit and then all of the lights going out all at once. Yeah, no, he knew I was legit. It doesn't take long when you hang around me. It's an adventure. Am I retarded? No, but I am sitting here quietly smiling at your retard comments. She seems a little crazy. She seems a little cuckoo. Thank you for telling us about yourself, though. Are you okay? No. No, I do not accept your backhanded compliment. You're still pretty, though. I don't like you. I don't want your compliment. Stay out of my kitchen. I'm rational enough not to deal with your ass. How's that for crazy? You're crazy enough to think that trying me was a good idea. Have fun tomorrow. Maybe I'm rational enough to not go harass people in their kitchen like you're doing, first and foremost. Secondarily, your old lady says, I'm fine. What? Yeah, but what? You're saying your wife has a crush on me? Hey, lady. What's up? I mean, I inhale, I just don't hold it in. There's no need to, there's a difference. Right. Scraping at the bottom of society and wants to tell people they're not okay. I know. That's right. And secondarily, they're not qualified to be you're not very smart. Also. No, you're not inhaling. Well, I wouldn't be coughing then. Okay. They're not qualified to be making those assertions about people, especially when they're so incorrect. The other thing is, what is crazy to them? Someone stepping outside of whatever matrix-oriented, fucked up, toxic societal norm that they've fit themselves as a great blob in a box for? Not me. Trinity. Perspective. Right. Classic be a D-bag and then try to chill. Shit, she's actually cool. Maybe I shouldn't have tried to troll her. Or, oh damn, it didn't work. Well, I guess maybe if I can't beat him, then I should join him. No, you're not welcome. You tried. We saw that. You picked the wrong team first. Now you're rejected. Toodles. I might forgive you for being a clown, but I'm not buying tickets to your circus. Your lungs are going to atomize. Which one is it? Am I inhaling or not? Just want something to pick at. What's up with you? Who peed in your Cheerios today? Happy Tuesday, bitch. I don't know why that was so funny, but it was. Fire up, baby. No, I'm playing with you. You think you're in control of the situation. You are confused. But I made sure to let you think that for a minute. Whoops, not my whoops. You think you're the first? No. But definitely one of the worst. You're not very good at what you're trying to do. You think that's trolling? I don't recommend it, but remember my intro here says, you make yourselves fair game when you try that. And that means to be full and distinctly ignored also. Because I know that'll hurt your feelings. I got your attention, babe. Oh, baby, where'd you go? In the teapot. How important are you now? How important do you think you are? Not anymore. Oh, he's gone. Oh, yeah. Probably still watching now. You keep scrolling. Nobody's seeing what you're writing. If you're still trying to type, you're blocked. Toodles. How's my audio? I look like a character in a Quentin Tarantino movie. Well, I could probably fuck some shit up, so maybe that's warranted. Music underwater. No, you're confusing not inhaling with not holding a hit in. The two are very distinct. There is absolutely inhale. There's a full inhale. You think I bought 2 ounces of weed just to waste? No, that shit's expensive. I also get it from a dispensary. It's medicine. I don't waste it. I'm not using it recreationally. It's not for fun. It's for chronic pain and chronic stress. Okay? Okay. So hush. First and foremost, it's still blurring. Hold on. Secondarily, you didn't inhale. No, I didn't hold in the hit. But you're not actually supposed to do that. And you could Google that instead of misjudging something that's legitimately right in front of you. So I would get your eyes checked too. And trying to argue with me at the same time. That's a myth. It's long since been disproven. Holding in the hit does not actually get you higher. What you think you're doing is getting yourself more high, but what you're actually doing is starving your brain of oxygen. So when you finally do exhale, you might feel a little bit dizzy. You might feel like a rush of oxygen rushing back to your brain, or maybe even blood flow. Yeah. You ever see somebody try to hold their breath or have a breath holding contest and the veins start to bulge out of their face and their face gets red or purple? Yeah, well, when that all goes back, all the blood and the blood pressure and the oxygen, might feel like you're getting higher for a second. You're not. You're just breathing again. Okay. What actually will get your levels boosted, we've already established this, I've talked about this before. 2 things really quickly. Mango, I always keep them in the freezer. If you eat mango, which has terpenes in it, it's what makes both mango and weed have that kind of like skunky, piney taste and smell. The addition of the terpenes in the mango while you use the cannabis will boost the terpenes in the cannabis. And so the mango itself is not going to get you high, but it will boost the effects of the cannabis because there's more terpene level going up. Secondarily, when you take a hit, the reason that holding it in is not going to get you any more of an effect is because if you've pulled the hit in, your lungs are saturated. And once they're saturated, they're saturated. I also am repeating what the doctor who prescribed me my medical card taught me about this. So before you argue with me, you could Google this, but I'm also just repeating information from a doctor. So don't be silly. And yeah, I heard that. Oh, she's smarter than I thought. Maybe you shouldn't pick fights with people on the internet just because you think they're pretty, so they must be dumb. Thank you. Her, damn, she's good. Yeah. Don't argue and try to gaslight. I'm not holding it in, but I'm saying is inhaling. First of all, that sentence doesn't make sense. It's poorly everything. Spelled, punctuated, what have you. Secondarily, I know, why is this a topic? It's wild. But since somebody wanted to sit here and just harass for a second, let me drag full for just a moment. Not holding it in, but I'm saying inhaling. I'm not saying you're not holding it in. I'm saying you're not inhaling. Well, that's the thing though. I am inhaling. So if you think I'm not inhaling, what you're actually seeing is that I'm not holding it in. I'm still taking a breath. I'm just immediately releasing it because there is no point to hold it in. Holding it in is not going to get me higher. You know what it does? Like the longer smoke sits in the bottom of a bong, it just gums it all up, which actually makes it harder for the next hit to get any kind of receptors because you've gummed it all up. Thank you. That's also why people start to cough, typically. Don't be dumb. If you're going to try to run your mouth, at least know what you're talking about. Or shut up and listen when somebody teaches you. Thank you. So, the mango we've talked about, but what will actually get you more high, because taking that breath and saturating the receptors that are at a baseline, like front and center, will only get you so high. Once they're hit, holding that's not going to make any more absorb. What will is if you open up your lungs more. So like you go into a deep squat, or sometimes even just like splitting your legs open like this will also open this, but then these muscles in here too. And lifting your arms, so runner's trick, will also climbing kitty, open up these muscles and the diaphragm and the lungs all up in here, which will also pull these open, subsequently allowing you to pull that breath much deeper, meaning you hit receptors at the bottom that you wouldn't normally hit from a first or shallow hit. That is how you get more, or you stop smoking for a couple of days and get your tolerance back up. But as a faster solution, those are options. Holding in your head is not going to help you. It actually hurts. You could Google it. Tells you you're doing it wrong. I know. Cheers. Really? In fact, I'm keeping you from coughing, squeezing the center of your left hand. Pressing your head between your knees. Is that a second one? Is it a pressure point? Interesting. Thanks, kitty. Interesting. It might be a pressure point, like acupressure. Thanks. That's great. Love that. Vibe Tribe Unite! I'm just gonna flash up the Power Ranger. Oh! I haven't even showed you my Transformer leggings. It's been a while since I've worn those. Just the purple ones. Maybe I should put them on. Not today. Oh, I'm wearing them in the cover photo that one of the recent videos I posted. The only time I'm looking back is if it's my ass in the mirror. That one. Transformer. They kind of look like Power Rangers, though. I heard this.
Woke up late today and I still feel the sting of the pain, but I brush my teeth anyway. I got dressed in the mess and put a smile on my face. I got a little bit stronger, riding in the car to work and trying to ignore the hurt. So radio, favorite song made me think of you. I listened to it for a minute, a little bit stronger, just a little bit stronger. And I'm not hoping.
It wasn't that part.
I dressed through the mess and put a smile on my face. I got a little bit stronger.
Is it this one? Hold on. I don't think it's that song. I don't know who it's by. I just know what I'm hearing. Is that it? Oh, I think it's this one. It's like, that just doesn't sound right. Because it's not.
Just a little bit stronger, just a little bit wiser, just a little less needy, and maybe I get there. Just a little bit pretty, just a little more aware, just a little bit better, maybe I get there. Clearly I remember up the skirt, they ask you for your time. Clearly I remember, nervous about confronting, questioning myself. Perhaps if I got better.
Song just changed on its own. Don't cross your legs. Somebody's crossing their legs. Ankles, arms, something. Please and thank you. Don't feel bad. Just help you draw it out. Helps both of us. Hey Randolph, what's up? How are you? It's nice to see you. I was hoping you'd be alright. Send out a little quiet prayer for you today. Same, Randy.
Exploration, you know.
If you ever see me fighting in the forest with a grizzly bear, help the bear, because that bitch gonna need it. Is that what you're referencing? Another one. Forget who it was, but it was like a live freestyle, right? Yeah. That's circular conversation, changing the goalpost, word salad when they just try to spin you in conversation, or like always try to keep themselves at the winning end of an argument, which means even contradicting themselves. You point some kind of issue with their statement and then they'll switch up in whatever, even opposite. They don't really care what their argument is as long as they're on the opposite side as you. Like, you had the gall to step to me and make that piss poor decision. Have the self-respect to stand on it, at least, you know. Don't switch up. Stand right there and let us judge you back. Don't deflect. Don't gaslight. Right. Yeah. Anybody got any stupid shit to say? Yeah, baby. That's been you. Doodles. I got rid of them for you. No worries. Should need to argue with idiots. They're like babies. They want attention so badly. But babies have an excuse. They're babies. Oh, damn. You want me to leave them? If you want. I mean, I just don't even care. Who cares about these people? Not me. You're not relevant. When I'm living my best life and on vacation and shit, guess who's not going to be there with me? So guess who's not really important at all? You could go, bitch. Like, I'm bored of you. Oh, literal yawn inducing. The Fae Nights. That's right. I forgot one. I didn't take your lighter home skillet. The Green Knight. That's right. They tried to come step to the plate today. Now, this, you can't really tell by looking at it because I take care of my stuff, but I've actually had this since college. The only thing that's really worn on it is the logo in the back. It used to be visible more like that, but it was printed. Sparkly, shiny, metallic, and it just worn off over time, and it said pink knockout. Like, knock your lights out. Pink knockout. I just got a flash of, what was that? It's the Brad Pitt movie, The Fight Club. Somebody's asking why did they pick this? I didn't. You get out of my chat. Don't threaten me. Fucking asshat. I will report you if you don't stop smoking. Get the fuck out of my house. I don't come to your house and complain that you're a loser. Get out. Bean soup theory. Good gracious. Right. Am I 25 years old? You think I'm 25? You seem young. What are you, 25? No. Bruce calling YouTube because you're smoking. It's not anymore, he's blocked, but come in my house and threaten me because you don't like what I have going on in my own home. Mind your business and let me mind mine. Crazy. Fight Club. You said Fight Club. That's right. Oh, and my mom got it for me for Christmas, I think. If I recall. 1 year. College. Yeah. They think they got close. Joe's mom. Aw, you come from a burner account? You came back. Look, you came back from another account. Bye! Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. What's up? Yeah, start smoking. Smoke more, guys. Fuck. Just kidding. Unless you want to. I'm going to. Don't be an asshole. I'm gonna kill my vibe. Smoky jokey. Because everybody can catch them. That's funny. Like a Pokemon. Gotta catch them all. Power Rangers. Don't they have rings? Unite. I don't know why this is so funny, but that's the way it's coming through. Because laughter is the best medicine, God said. Yeah, I had another chat with God. Let me tell you about it. A day or so ago, I was grossed out by these karmics, and God said, forgive them. They know not what they do. And I started to argue back. And I said, they were told and they chose not to listen. Because I told them who I was and who the fuck they were trying to fuck with. I said, they were told and they chose not to listen. And God responded. Which immediately, I was like, yeah, you're right. God was like, yeah, but they're arrogant. The arrogance of a weak mind. Like, they were told, but they're so fucking arrogant because they're so weak. Their minds are so weak that they think they're right. So I guess if they think they're right, they really don't realize how badly they've fucked up, do they? They really don't know what they've done. Oh, whoops. No, my whoops. They were warned, but they were too stupid to, like, process that and do the right thing with it. So, weak and arrogant. They know not what they do. If they had any wits, they would have done better. God was right, though. Couldn't argue with that. I started to. God lovingly corrected me, and I don't know, who the fuck am I to argue there? God's right. But see, I was just channeling, and these people wanted to argue with me. They're wrong. You weren't arguing with me. I was channeling. You were arguing with God. Even I know better than that, dipshit. Sit down. How do you like me now? How do you like them apples? said play. Oh, no. No, I'm not full of hate. Why? Why would you assume that me returning the energy of those who chose to come here and be nasty is me being hateful? That's why I'm laughing. I'm mostly joking. I'm also not. They fucked up. That's true. But I was joking about the stern demeanor, really. Never argue with gods. No, it was amusing. I was finding amusement in that. So I chose to be boisterous about it. But I'm laughing at you. So. Tell Me Your Lies, the song was playing. Yeah, I'm not buying that shit. Jekyll and Hyde also it was. They set themselves up. Yeah. Needs more. Like me. True OG. Sweet dreams, Adrian. I hope you have a great night. And it was lovely to have you here. That's right, Looney. Herbology. How's the audio? Is the music still off? I'm enjoying the music, but if it's not good for you guys, I don't want to keep it. It's good. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me know. Cheers. Oh yeah, here's another thing. I mentioned earlier that I've been picking up some criminals and dirty cops are trying to set me up again. And it seems like every time I do this lately, the last couple of times over the last month or so, every time I have to whistleblow about one of our little plots or instigations, because they were also stalking my house, like illegal surveillance the other day. In fact, it was one of them involved with a mix of previous problematic incidents and people, groups of people. So it had no business coming around me. It was very obvious what they were doing. The police sirens and like fire trucks and things like that started rushing by today. Seems like every time they cause problems for me, suddenly there's an emergency. But other than that, it's been quiet. Like I haven't, and that's the pattern. It's quiet until they stir the pot with me. I say something about it or I talk to God about it. And then they start to get a kickback. God makes sure their hands are too busy to come fuck with me. It's karma. It's a return to sender. And then some with interest. Because they wanted to take from me or cost me. Oh, it's not just hitting the dirty cops and such. Yes, maybe in some cases, but right, some of them targeted myself and tried to infiltrate, and recruit family to flip on each other and all this stuff. So, what's the backfire of that? Is that when people take hits too from the ricochet, even that's their fault. They shouldn't have been firing bullets at people, spiritually or otherwise. Sweet dreams, love. Hair skip floor. Interesting. The strings. It's very Spanish sounding. What was that? Now it sounds Indian. Of course it is this strong line. I didn't like that one. Whatever that lotion thing was. I don't like that. Everything else is fire. There was another sound that could have been used than that. I'm sure of it. I don't like that. Ugh! It gives me like creepy crawlies. Okay.
Well, are you gonna dance on the line with me? You know it's not a game or a fantasy, but I don't even know who I used to be, and nothing is the same, and some things have to change now. Are you gonna dance on the line with me? You know it's not a game or a fantasy, and I don't even know who I used to be, but nothing is the same, and some things have to change now. No, fall out of my book, fall out of my boots, in and out of my dreamscapes. People acting different. One look at my past self, double taking my cash flow. Apologizing for shit that frankly I stopped thinking of years ago. And you know I deliberate on counting out the demons. I don't need a dark side, they just need a reason. The passage of the hours into rushing through the seasons, falling through my mind with the leaves on the trees. So keep me alive, keep me believing. Now is the time to take it all in. Gave away all my blessings, left off weightless. Told apart by the true believers who turned out to be fake. Gonna dance on the ground with me. No, it's not a game or a fantasy. I don't even know who I used to be. Nothing is the same. Something's had to change now. I ain't gonna dance on the ground with me. No, it's not a game or a fantasy. I don't even know who I used to be. Nothing is the same. Something's had to change now. You gotta get major. Hacking into my brain cells, stepping up from my future. Uploading my true self. Did I get this for the nothing? Are you reward? Counting out to this out. I was hoping to be with this. I am out of hesitation. And all my skills of elevation. Walking at the edge of the pavement, taking it stride by stride together. It's extreme, and I am on a frenzy. Now looking forward, I was empty. Say that the story returns, never ending. Taking it side by side together. I'm starting to dance on the ground with me. You know it's not a game or a fantasy. I don't even know who I used to be. Nothing is the same. Something's had to change now. I'm gonna dance on the ground with me. You know it's not a game or a fantasy. I don't even know who I used to be. Nothing is the same. Something's had to change now. So far, so free. I don't want answers for I don't want to read. Away, take me away. Before I begin to enjoy all the time it takes. It's just
What do you do, baby?
Yeah, that's why I quietly smiled and ignored him, Dan. A real mother recognized that. I wasn't going to pick at his wounds. Because I saw why he was trying to pick at mine.
I'm at least 18. Somebody thought I was 25. Somebody else is asking, am I 18? Hope you're at least, so I look like a teenager? You mean I don't even look 18? Is that what you're saying? What they tell on themselves. No, I don't DoorDash. I don't even think that's a thing over here. First of all. We're sorry to see that that's how you feel about yourself. That's not how I feel about myself. Yeah, right, no projecting in the chat. Stop speaking out loud your thoughts about yourself. Right. Are you okay? Haven't we heard this all before? Frankly, I wouldn't trust people with my DoorDash. I wouldn't trust people to like do something to it or just be gross. Some people are weird. I don't do that. No. Definitely not delivering other people's. Also, like, you don't necessarily know who's touching your stuff. I've seen videos where people have caught Door Dashers, like in the Ring cameras, dropping their stuff on the ground and then like putting it back in the box as if it wasn't dirty on the ground. Or like taking some of the food out and eating it, or like you just don't know. You just don't know. You know how there was that incident where people were like switching Tylenol on the shelf for some kind of drug that was killing people at one point? There was a like an instance where that happened, if I recall, something like that. So people would go to buy like just Advil or something, and it wasn't what was being sold. Somebody had taken the bottles, emptied them, put something else in them, and then put them back on the shelf, knowing that it would be sold, and then people would get sick. One dude brought Uber Eats into the bathroom with him. Like, you just don't know what they're doing, and that's gross and dirty, and it, like, ew. There are some people that have been arrested and charged for going around like intentionally spreading STDs. Sometimes somebody will get an STD and then be mad that they have it. Like there have been cases where this has happened too. And then like that's their motive for trying to go infect people. Like they're just unhappy. So cyan, I thought that's what it was. Cyanide swapped pills, the Tylenol killer. Yep. And so like how hard would it be though? At first it was just a few cases where that happened, you know? So if they just wanted to start smaller, test a few places, I mean, like really, DoorDashers could get a lot of customers through the day, theoretically speaking. Right. So again, how hard would it be to do something like that when it's not really that regulated comparatively? Because even then, regulated goods, they still did it. So it's just dangerous. And every royal knows that assassination attempts come from, hi Dave, love you. They come from somebody on the inside or someone looking to get on the inside or someone trying to recruit somebody on the inside to help them target somebody on the inside. Dave is great. We love Dave here. Dave is Peach. Also, Dave is obviously funny because what kind of person is so sweet but also has a username that's hilarious? Let's see some Hooters. Normally, I would be skeptical, or at least wary of somebody who came at me like that. Usually, they're just not nice. But Dave is lovely. I love Dave. I just think it's so funny. In fact, I think my grandmother probably would have thought that was funny too. My Nana Rose. Thanks for being here, Dave. It's funny. Good sense of humor. Let's see some Hooters. Oh, it makes my cheeks hurt. Beijo. Brazil. Cheers. Love you. Thanks, Jessie. Oh, cute little pine trees. I love that. Some seaweed. He does like seaweed. No, don't do that. Fly, I saw that. Don't do that. Need you to see me for I do say to feel I have nothing to repent for, babe. Not based on your judgments. Gemini or you're a Taurus? Also, yeah, shout out to Mac. That was one of Mr. Meeker's favorites, actually. He had a lot of respect and admiration for him. At that point, Mac had got sober and was building his career also. You're a Gemini. Team Gemini. So you're a May Gemini. Me too. Me too. Do you have... Are you... How are you and she? Do you butt heads at any point? Doesn't have to be this way, but Taurus and Gemini can sometimes conflict. It depends. It depends on... You're the 27th, Dana. No way. We have the same birthday then. Also, so does Damien. Is that... Are we the three amigos? I heard that. No fucking way. Yes. No, May 27th. And he and I are actually born the same year too, so he and I are born the same year and the same day, but... Are you the funny? No way. Somebody's lying. No fucking way. That's wild. Oh, is there seriously 4 of us with the same birthday? I love that. That's wild. I love this. Also, just as far as the Gemini Taurus compatibility goes, I have Taurus in my chart and Gemini, so like the way that I use the Taurus is very functional when I use it, but then also I flow into the Gemini states of energy too. I dealt with a really toxic, abusive ex that was very stubborn and nasty and like set in his ways of toxicity and abuse. And so there was a clash. Also, he just drained the shit out of my energy, I found. Not everybody's like that. It depends on where you have placements in your chart, kind of like mine. Like yours and hers could be more compatible also in other places. If there's ever a point where there's an issue, you might find some navigational advice in the Zodiac. At least for a side perspective. It's wild though. Happy birthday, almost birthday to us. Woo! We gotta have a tea party, guys. it's our birth month. Yeah, that's wild. Let's check on Damien also. I know he's been having a little bit of time.
How many times did I tell you it's taking a toll. Trying my best to keep from tearing the skin out my bones. Don't you know I lose control when you're not.
Teddy swims, you are? Is it really? That's funny. Wow, all Geminis. I love that. We can do that. Cheers. All plays together. As there, what was that, 27 people? Also, no shade on the Taurus Gemini crossover, like I said. It depends on your chart. There's a lady client that I have had. She is Taurus and Gemini as pretty predominant spaces in her chart. And it actually acts as a pretty solid balance point when you know how to understand them and embrace with them, like flow with them instead of fight against them. Subsequently, don't let a bad relationship or a string of them with one zodiac sign like ruin the whole sign for you. Maybe you're just not compatible with that sign or those people, but also remember that it can have to do with the other stuff in their chart or the lack thereof compatibility and other stuff in their chart too. So even if there's something that's like not compatible, if there are other things in their chart that are compatible with your chart, it can balance that out or override that even. Or complement more, so it brings a different level of balance. Subsequently, there are different levels of like awareness and awakening, spiritually speaking, as far as comprehension and understanding goes, and also maturity levels. So it kind of just depends on the person. Can meet a very stubborn, like a bully ass, nasty, mean ass Taurus, which I unfortunately encountered, or you can meet or raise a very balanced, grounded, centered, healthy, regulated, hardworking even on the upside Taurus. Don't worry about it. If there's ever a conflict, I always wonder about that. It's different for everybody. Here, I heard skip 2. I like that one better. I heard skip 2. I don't know if I know this one. This new, maybe? I would say that he's probably an earth sign, or like maybe an out of touch air sign, but Robert, your comments in attempt to try to insult me or say a lot more about you, love, than they have about me, just so you know. Toodles. Well, Capricorn's kind of are an enigma because they're an earth sign, but the symbol of them is the sea goat. So they also have water qualities. Like can be emotional. But it can also take the right person or situation in some cases to give them the space for that. Like a mermaid. Capricorn is kind of an enigma because, typically speaking, earth signs are symbolized by groundedness, material security when upright and in balance. They like comfortable provisions, steady home and family environments, etc., etc. But they also are in touch with the emotional side of things, more like the water signs, like Pisces, Scorpio, or I almost just said Aquarius, Cancer. Aquarius is kind of also an enigma because it's the water bear. He's pouring a vase of water, usually in a stream, pulling water out of a stream, but it's an air sign. Yeah. Cheers. Sign of a horse. It's probably your Chinese zodiac, though. Horse. So it's a little different, but you more than likely will resonate with both of those. A zodiac of trees? I don't know. Probably. My daughter's named after a Celtic tree. What do you mean? You want to know somebody that named themselves Aspen Knight? You once knew. That's my daughter's name, not Knight. Aspen tree, Celtic, especially the quaking aspen, has two different sides to the leaves. They look almost like two full out different leaves, just based on the like the color and the texture from side to side. The shape is the same, obviously. So, I'm going to tell your mother on you, Vincent. But it symbolizes like the polarity on both sides of the leaves. Yeah, we're going to tell your mommy, Vincent. Thank you. It symbolizes somebody who can walk between both planes, both worlds, and she's also spiritually gifted like her mom. That's part of the reason they targeted her. A lot of the people who came after us are part of cults or demons. And speaking of, can you do another shush? Yeah, I've got silent princesses on my fingers. That was the inspiration for these. I'm not quite done. Some of them are kind of more like sunflowers almost. The colors, the blue and purple and white. Yeah, Waking Husbands. Yeah, they're very ancient and powerful. She's like me that way. That's why I targeted both of us, first of all. But a lot of these people saw the strength, the power, the gifts, the abilities, and they wanted to try to block, control, harvest, siphon those. They also wanted to try to do that specifically to royal bloodline. They thought that that was a direct streamline to power, and like I wouldn't give them anything, so they thought that holding my daughter hostage would be the next best bet. Some of them just went along with it. Thanks. I'll show you guys in a while. Yeah. Well, didn't you know that people who do magic, like, think, little children, I'll take thee away into a land of enchantment. Come, little children, the time's come to play into my garden of shadows. Who knows what I'm singing? Why, right? Does anybody recall that? Where that's from? Come, little children, I'll take thee away into a land of enchantment. It's from Hocus Pocus. I think it's Disney. And the witches lure children in to try to siphon their energy so that they can live longer and like look younger. And so this is what these energy vampires do. Now, people that play with witchcraft, especially blood magic, yeah, of course they want royal bloodline to do their fucking magic with. They think it's powerful. And so, like, they couldn't get access to me, but they kidnapped my daughter before she had lost any teeth, for example. And then she's lost a whole mouthful now, but they do stuff with blood and hair and right. Sexual assault. That's been a thing. Pedophilia. That's been a thing. It's a cult. It's cult. black magic from evil demonic people. No, eventually that catches up with them. Because it's not even necessarily, like, yes, sometimes, but it's more so about trying to dominate people's lives. Because some of them straight up, like, were stealing money, right, for example. So we would, we do work and do whatever we can to build our lives, but they're stealing from us, which creates blockages and what have you. And then they would take money that they would steal or grift or mismanage somehow, and then take it to, in some cases, plastic surgeons to get cosmetic surgery procedures done, in some cases to try to look like the victims they were targeting. It's crazy. So, yeah, there's that. It's another bitter and botched. Cheers. Don't do that, fly. Oh, who did? Some of the people who've been after my daughter and I. Kind of pathetic. It is what it was. It's what they chose. Let's see, too. How does boy? Yep, that's it. That's what I did before I came here. I'm gonna go do some yoga in a minute. Oh, you feel that? Crown chakra, third eye attack? Yep. They can cleanse negative energy and used appropriately, for starters. But yeah, Christians tend to say and think things like that. Think it's evil and burn sage to cleanse their nasty energy and judgments out. They will also, I was just thinking about this a minute ago, be very hateful towards Reiki, typically speaking, because, like, Christians tend not to like me because I'm too spiritual for them. Like, I'm not strict traditional Christian enough. Like, I'm all the little rules that they're trying to tell you here. I don't listen to that shit. But there are people who do black magic who do not like me because I connect with the divine. Just don't do it like these misjudgmental Christians do. But the reality is, while they're trying to preach God and Jesus, they're behaving just like Judas. They're behaving just like the people who were throwing stones at Jesus, who put a crown of thorns on Jesus, who strung him up on the cross, who misjudged him, who hated on him for wanting to what? Spread love, spread God's word, heal people. How is that a threat? So they become the very thing they are preaching about. And it is very hateful. I had a conversation recently with one of my doctors actually, and she said she said that she heard this quote a while back and it stuck with her, and it was that there's no hate louder than Christian love, I think is what she said. There's no hate like Christian love, right? They're Jesus God, but they're so hateful towards people. Even while saying and preaching those, they're just so nasty. It's not for Jesus like. So anyway, I don't listen to people who do that. Sometimes they claim to mean well. A lot of them don't. And here's another thing. Do you know the thing that they do at church? Usually in the beginning, where the pastor's like, is there anybody who has someone they would like to pray for? Anything you'd like us to pray about for you? It's like a communal prayer session. Some people use those as an excuse to gossip at church, and they, like a backhanded insult, they frame it as, oh, let's just pray for this person, but really it's their attempt to splay all your business out in front of everybody, one. And two, like a little gossip, right? And two, hot gossip at the tea corner at church. Trying to make themselves feel superior to you. Whether you're there or not, it's like a little shaming session. How Christian is that? How godly? How Jesus-like is that, though? Oh, and here's the kicker. Sometimes some of the same ones in the little church gossip sessions are the ones who might be causing you the problems that they're praying about. Or they're right linked in with them, associated with them, supporting them, helping them, praying for you, but not actually doing anything to prevent the things that you need prayer for. Like leaving you the fuck alone. Or not helping people who hurt you. For starters. Only, that has to change too. Only time men get flowers is their funeral. No, if men like flowers, they should get flowers too. Flowers are lovely. Flowers raise your vibration. What do you mean? Who doesn't like flowers? They don't like people who see through their stuff. I read everything else, but I want to do them where you can see them well. Daylight, maybe. Using a light color. We'll see. do a true crime. Chill out for a little bit. Somebody said there were kids in the chat earlier, right? Well, I just got comments on the video. Whistleblowing about pedophiles. So that makes sense. Well, it was like 35 minutes ago, but yeah, you called it about then. Hey. Let's check this one.
It was February 9th, 2019, and in a suburb on the north side of Dublin, Ireland, a 41-year-old man from Iceland named Jan Jansson was going for a walk. Jan was in Dublin for a poker tournament, had in fact just flown in the day before, and had checked in to the Bonington Hotel, which was the same hotel hosting the tournament. After arriving on the 8th, he played poker that night and seemed to be having a grand old time, was drinking a fair bit, lost about $4,000, and then retired to bed. The next morning, February 9th, his fiancée flew in, and she found him passed out in his hotel room. He woke, they chatted, and she went down to get a coffee. During those few minutes while she was out of the room, Jan left the hotel, leaving behind his phone, wallet, and passport. At 11:07, he was caught on CCTV walking through the streets of this area, Whitehall, and then he promptly vanished. This area is just houses, not much else, but the massive search that followed never found a trace of him. He seemed to be in a good mood that day and was not with anyone else. Where he would have gone to remains unknown. He left his phone behind. Would he have even known where he was going? Since then, massive searches have been done of the area, including the parks, with no success. 1 year after he vanished, a criminal in an Icelandic prison told Jan's family that the $4,000 he lost the night previous belonged to an Icelandic criminal who also happened to be in Dublin at that time. He said that Jan went to get more money from him, and things turned sour. But again, he left his phone behind. Would he have known where he was going? Some think that his family know more about what really happened. But as you can see in the CCTV, he seemed calm, like he wasn't expecting trouble. Others think that he had an accident. He fell into a river or the canal. Most think he lost more than he could afford to, and he came to a horrifying end. But despite many searches involving the Gardaí and Europol, even now, it remains one of Ireland's biggest mysteries. Hey you and welcome. My name is Mike, and much like I sort of just was talking about, in this whole video we're going to go through some of the darkest disappearances in recent times. From a disturbing disappearance where everybody is a suspect,
Hi, we're coming in for a beer. Good boy.
to a disappearance that literally makes no sense. Today we're going to go through, once again, the darkest disappearances. And you know what? We're going to go through this one iceberg style, where each disappearance is a little more disturbing than the previous one. And then we get to, you know, the real dark stuff. So, like, let's start talking about it. Come on, my friends, let's give it a go. In this whole video, we are talking about strange occurrences and dark disappearances. And let me tell you something for free. I don't want you going anywhere. Healthcare. Ain't nothing more important. You know, sometimes you have that feeling or pain that you really do got to get checked out.
Mm-hmm. And you should use help. I'm not sure this is in this place.
To begin, let's start with a chilling. Yeah, I think chilling is the only apt word for it. Disappearance that occurred during a cross-country road trip over the summer of 2025. When you decide to live this life eternal, you wouldn't buy a gun. When you decide to be the goddess, you wouldn't buy any weapon. When you decide to be eternal, you will search for the truth inside of you. I just want to remind to everyone that life will bring everyone exactly who they are, exactly what they deserve. Yes. See, that was when 38-year-old, and I'm gonna butcher this, Gana Kovriznik, Ganake, who was originally from Ukraine but moved to Hallandale Beach, Florida at some point, was driving from Florida to California. See, Gana went by the name Angel Volnaya online, and she was online, like a lot of online. She posted quite a bit, especially on the old TikTok. She posted about spiritual things, she was a new age person, and seemed to have some, folks, interesting beliefs, to say the least. You can fill in whatever kind of adjective you want there yourself. That's up to you. There is a new moon. The main point of the moon is to be consciousness and to make your own healing, misunderstanding, clean your body. This is different rituals. What does it mean actually that death will escape from us? It is written in the Bible, New Testament. What is waiting for all of you is waiting. So biggest monsters. Sure, didn't she even write a book? Zeroing, Witness to God so as an entrance to a parallel world. So yeah, sounds interesting to say the least. I mean, it sounds more like somebody is vomiting mental illness onto a page. But as strange as all that is, it is her still unsolved disappearance that makes what is weird all the weirder. Family and friends last heard from Gana on July 5th, 2025, as she was driving through San Diego County with her car and trailer. That same day, Gana's mother received a photograph of a letter from Gana, along with GPS coordinates. However, it's unclear if she wrote that letter and sent it. Basically, the letter detailed all of Gana's assets to be given to her mom. The fact that it was a photo of the letter made it strange. And although Gana herself had some weird beliefs and ideas in her head, let's be honest, she was likely experiencing a psychotic break. Her vanishing seemed to be out of character for someone who seemed so keen on documenting everything. Gana has a daughter who lives in Italy. She talks to her daughter every single day. Then she suddenly stopped. And since then, she has never been heard from. Her last TikTok, she was posting almost every day. Her last TikTok was posted July 4th, 2025. I don't know if she got raptured or what. My brothers and sisters, remember, aliens, they are not your friends. Don't go out. Don't check for them. Don't look for them. Now you'll be raptured. A lot of children by aliens. I am the light, and I'm the last light on this earth. So the light, if you have inside, come and check. She was reported missing July 12th, 2025. On tracking those coordinates that were in the photograph her mom received, it led to her abandoned Jeep Grand Cherokee and a trailer in rural-ass San Diego County. And this was right on the border with Mexico.
The San Diego Sheriff's Department has a bit of a mystery on its hands. They're searching for a missing woman they say vanished near San Diego during a cross-country trip.
We don't really have any belief one way or another at this point if there is foul play involved or if she just strictly voluntarily left.
Since then, there has been no leads as to what happened to Gana. It is very possible that she may have crossed over into Mexico, but no one knows for sure where she is. Was she having some kind of mental break? Was she using drugs, which is kind of highly suspected, judging by the kind of stuff she was posting online and the kind of stuff she was writing about? I feel like you can only come up with those words if you were out of your mind. But where did she go to? Why did she send her mom the coordinates of where she would be abandoning her trailer? Can I shock you? No one has a clue, despite extensive searches in that area. But with the type of stuff she was thinking about, the type of stuff that was going on up here, I don't think anybody can come up with any kind of logical explanation as to what happened to Angel Volnaya. In December 2020, Dane Elkins was 21 years of age. He was a racquetball player, if you can believe that, and a hell of a racquetball player. I mean, I don't know if they play like professionally, but if they do, he was gonna do. Actually, I think they do. To briefly run through his sports career, he had 23 major national junior championships to his name, 12 world championships. He was featured in Sports Illustrated, the LA Times. He was an 8-time member of the USA national junior racquetball team. Highly decorated, you know the drill. And sure, if all that wasn't enough, and of course it's not, he was also a black belt in Taekwondo. Dane, you're making us look bad. Thing is, what happened to Dane and what Dane did was even more bizarre than how talented he was at like it seemingly everything. I wake up in the morning, I roll up. Dane was from Los Angeles, growing up with his parents and younger brother Cody, also a racquetball champ. He is ranked 30th in the world.
Damn, that's not it, you know? But we already have the green beans, the really hungry food's really good. We got some buffalo wings, we got some salads over here. I'm not really a salad person, but they do look fire. Alright, I'm a veggie girl trying the buffalo bomber. Let's see.
In 2020, he was studying electrical engineering at the University of California, Santa Cruz, and it was in December of that year that things take a turn, all beginning December 31st.
You know, how much of the knowledge that we know actually comes from actual knowledge? Like, most of the things that we do, right? The marketing, like, how do we know how much food, what food we're supposed to have, what we're not supposed to have, what we drink, etc., etc.? How do we understand nature, right? So if you are taught in school, hey, this is this, right? Then you're only going to learn just a few things.
Now, allegedly, due to COVID isolation, this is balls deep in COVID at this point, Dane's mental health, which was never like top shelf, never S tier, they began to take a turn. Like a really bad turn due to the isolation. He became depressed, he became paranoid, he began driving like a lot, and I mean a lot. He would disappear in the middle of the night. He would tell his family that he was staying with one family member, when in reality he was sleeping out of the back of his truck because he believed that the CIA were tracking him.
Hey!
You never know. And on December 21st, 2020, he called his mom from his car. He was driving, and he wasn't even far from Santa Cruz at this point, where he was studying. But the thing was, this was like right before Christmas. College was closed. It was the end of semester. He had no reason to be there. He should have been back with his mom, and she was telling him.
There's a copycat. One of the copycats. She's making her rounds. She's been sulking for a few days, and the other ones just dropped their little beef, whatever. And like the body jumping demon vehicle that they've been, it's like just making it run into the next one again. It's like they're possessed by the same demon. No. They're fine now. See, and the wind. I heard the wind. No, don't do that. No voodoo shit. No. It's not voodoo, but whatever the equivalent. It's all really the same. It's just dark magic. Evil intent. Negative energy.
Back home. She could clearly see that, he was in a bit of a state. He was not coming back home because he said it wasn't safe for him. And at 8:20 p.m. that day, he completely vanished. His abandoned car, still running, was later found that very same day with a flat tire. And inside the car was his wallet and his cell phone. He believed he was being tracked, and so he left them behind. He also called 911 that day several times. And when the police finally got there, they found his abandoned car, but absolutely no sign of Dane Elkins.
Elkins family members pass out flyers to Starbucks customers near their Brentwood home. They post his picture to light poles and pray someone has seen him.
He left his car off the side of the highway, this mountain highway, still running with a flat tire. Was that on purpose or no? And then just simply walked off. This is in the middle of nowhere, by the way, so if you're gonna walk, you're gonna be walking for a while. Searches of the area were done, but nothing was found of him. Dogs tracking his scent simply led to the road. Since then, there have been a few sightings, but nothing confirmed. The most credible sighting was last in April 2022, almost a year and a half after he vanished.
The most recent sighting in April 2022 on the Santa Cruz Wharf, where a young mother and her son were approached by a man who looked like Dane.
He was super nice. He seemed a little scared of the government. So I gave him a $20 bill, and as I was leaving, I heard him order a water and a taco.
He allegedly approached a mother and son in Santa Cruz asking for some money, and he gave them the name Cody Elkins, which was his younger brother. They recognized him, but by the time they realized what was going on, he was gone. Weirdly enough, where his car was found abandoned, that was also near where Bryce Laspisa vanished, who I covered previously, who was also acting strange in much the same way before his own bizarre disappearance. To date, Dane Elkins has not been found. To date, Bryce Laspisa has not been found, and there's something very strange in that mountainy highway-y part of California. Although when I say that part, I could really just mean the entire state of California. In the year 2000, Leah Roberts was 23 years of age, originally from Durham, North Carolina, but was now making her way all the way across the United States, ending up in Bellingham, Washington. Leah Roberts, she grew up all the way in North Kakalaki along with her older brother and her older sister. She went to college, North Carolina State. She was studying Spanish. She was studying anthropology. However, Leah's young life, it was certainly defined by sort of one tragedy and then another one, and then continuing on from there, and yeah, more and more. When she was 19 years of age, her mom suddenly passed away from heart disease. The following year, Leah was in a serious car accident that punctured her lung, and she had to have a metal rod implanted next to a broken femur bone. 6 months later, her father also passed away. So yeah, fair bit of shite heaped onto her life plate, if you might say so, and I do say so. You can understand why Leah might not want to kind of hang around and might want to be like, okay, this is shit, I'm out of it. And actually, it might not surprise you to say that's exactly what happened. She said, screw this bullshit. I'm out of 5,000. Just a few months before finishing her degree, she dropped out of school and said she was going to basically travel. She took up photography. She learned to play the gitbox. She adopted a cat. And then she promptly dropped out of everybody's lives. It was March 9th, 2000, that suddenly people could no longer find Leah. Her roommate noticed her white 1993 Jeep Cherokee was missing. Leah missed a babysitting job she had, and 4 days later, she was reported missing to the Durham police. Now, what people didn't know, but would later learn, was that all of this was part of an impromptu trip that Leah was doing. She was disappearing out of everybody's lives, completely unproposed. She wanted to do this road trip. She wanted to be like one of those beat poets from the 60s, Kerouac style, traveling across America, a road dog, floating along the wind and just documenting everything. You're going on a life adventure. That kind of romantic idea in her noodle. Her family and friends noticed she had taken clothing, money, her purse from her apartment. She even left a letter saying, I'm not suicidal, I'm the opposite. She left behind enough money for her roommate to cover a month's rent. And Leah's sister would find she'd withdrawn thousands of dollars from her bank account, and tracking her financial transactions, because her sister had access to her bank account, she could see she was spending money in hotels and motels, working her way, going due west, making transactions for gas stations, and just buying it. She could literally track her progress of where she was spending money as she headed from North Carolina all the way to Washington. However, this story then takes a insanely bizarre turn. On March 18th, 9 days after she left, Leah's wrecked, and I mean absolutely like bollocks and banjaxed Jeep Cherokee was found at the bottom of a ravine, if you can believe such a thing. This was off a remote logging road in the Mount Baker Snoqualmie National Forest in Washington State. The car had been found after some joggers noticed clothes hanging from trees, and following the clothes, they found the Jeep, but the car was empty. It seemed that the car had been traveling uphill 30 to 40 miles an hour, then it left the road and rolled several times before getting to the bottom of that ravine. If somebody was in the car, they would have been in like serious, like proper up shit creek injuries. Yes, police finding this abandoned Jeep Cherokee, there was no blood inside, no signs of anybody injured. There was no even seatbelts, like they weren't stretched as if somebody had, none of that. Nobody, they couldn't prove that anybody had been in the Jeep when it rummed off the side of a ravine. However, what was even stranger yet again was that police found in that Jeep Cherokee blankets and pillows were hung and stretched across the windows as if somebody had used the Jeep at the bottom of a ravine as like a makeshift camp. Like they were just hanging out and having a grand old time in this Jeep, which is weird. $2,500 in cash. Money Leah withdrew was still in the car. In the surrounding woods, Leah's passport was found, her driver's license, shit like that. But no Leah, nor her cat, who she had taken with her, the cat carrier, still inside the Jeep. CCTV would later be found from March 13th, 2000, at a gas station in Oregon, which showed her paying up for gas, yet she kept looking outside at something. Lord knows what had her attention, and this was 4 days after she left home. So the search was on, and Leah's siblings flew into the state of Washington. In the Jeep, a movie theater ticket was found for American Beauty at a movie theater in Bellingham, Washington. That was 30 miles from the crash site, and the ticket stub was dated for March 13th. So people started searching around Bellingham, trying to track back what she had been doing right before. Seems like somebody pushed or whatever. I mean, the car was going 30 to 40 miles an hour, so nobody could push it that fast. But somehow it was going over the cliff at that speed with nobody inside because nobody was injured. What the shit was she doing before? What? And the answer to what was people who remembered seeing her around town. In fact, some people specifically remembered seeing Leah Roberts having dinner with two men. Leah was on this road trip alone. Who the shit were those two men? Now, police would later track down these two strangers Leah was seen having dinner with. One of the guys said, had dinner with Leah, it was grand, they were just shooting the shit. Leah then left the dinner by herself, never seen her again. The other fellow, though, he would tell the police a different story about that dinner Leah had right before she vanished. Right before her car ends up at the bottom of a ravine. He would say the pair of them, these two lads, they'd been having dinner with Leah when a third fellow, he comes along. He said Leah knew his name. His name was Barry. Leah then left with this fellow. The first guy never mentioned who this other mysterious stranger. A week later, an anonymous caller said he saw Leah in Everett, 60 miles south of Bellingham. She was acting strange, disoriented. It's possible she was somehow in the crash, maybe, but miraculously was unharmed, wandered off into the woods, or to a road, or to another town, and something bad happened then. But searches found nothing, no clues, nothing in the woods. They searched for the metal rod in her leg. If she died in the woods, the rod would remain, but nothing.
Grad had disappeared while on a cross-country trip, and her case is the inspiration for the Q Center's annual road tour. Now, volunteers set out on a grueling journey, bringing attention to other unsolved cases, including some from right here in North Carolina. Leah Roberts left Durham heading west in 2004, never to be heard from again. She took her photography equipment, guitar, and her journal. She headed to Mount Baker and Desolation Peak in Washington State. Her case got little attention until
we decided to do was sit down with the authorities, and we came up with her credit card statements, which she had used
the whole entire way. And we decided we were going to go to every place that she stopped, put up posters, bring a renewal to her, to the effort of looking for her, let people know she was missing.
It wouldn't be until 7 whole years had passed that new detectives would be assigned to the case of missing Leah Roberts, and they discovered something previous detectives had missed. The engine to her Jeep Cherokee, it had been tampered with. Basically, somebody had messed with the starter relay of the car, meaning that once the key was in the ignition, if you started pushing her car, it would start accelerating. It would start to accelerate by itself, which is likely how it got up to that speed of 30 to 40 miles an hour without anybody being inside the car. But why would somebody push a car off a ravine and then use it as like a makeshift campsite? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And the thing was, Leah, she would not have known how to do that. She was not a grease monkey at all. Fingerprints would be found on the engine of the car, but they were not identifiable. And I know what you're thinking. Police did track down those two guys who Leah was having dinner with, and it was not their fingerprints. Their fingerprints didn't match. They also found DNA on some clothing in Leah's car. It was not their DNA. Maybe there was that third guy, that mysterious Barry fellow, which when this guy said to the police, oh, she left with Barry, police thought, okay, bullshit, you're just inventing a third person, because the first guy never mentioned him, so you're covering up. But maybe he wasn't. Likely Leah did come to foul play, but how her car ended up where it did, when it did, it's a mystery. Paddy Moriarty was 19 years of age when he left Abbeyfield in the west of Ireland. And you know what? Sure didn't he just head off to the opposite side of the world? He left for Australia. He worked all around Australia before finally ending up in a place called Larrimah in the Northern Territory of Australia. There is no evidence he ever returned to Ireland. Now, to say Larrimah is isolated is some kind of understatement, because, you know, it's like the kind of place where even the kangaroos say crikey. Come 2017, 12 clearly mentally ill people had decided to make it home. By December 17th, 2017, however, that number was reduced to 11. And Paddy Moriarty has not been seen since.
What do you like about living here in this place?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I don't mind it. Good. Yeah. I'll come up to the pub here and have a good drink and everything like that. Meet Barry, all the locals, you know. Well, I don't want to say too much about everyone, but, you know.
Oh, let's talk about that a bit. How does everyone get on this area?
They don't. No.
Paddy was 70 years of age, a man of routine, because there's absolutely sweet fuck all to do around here. Paddy, he would get up, he would quad bike his way over to the Pink Panther pub with his dog Kelly and do some cleaning up. He was paid for this in beer, which, fair play to that, honestly. After he did some chores around the pub, he would pull up a stool, and there he would remain for the day, always drinking 8 cans, 8 tinnies of 4X Gold, an Australian lager. Okay, I've never had it, but the name does not do it any favors. It could be up there with Moosehead. Now, the thing about Larrimah, though, is, I mean, everybody knows each other. It's 12 people, so you kind of got to. But, you know, everybody is also very aged in Larrimah. Like, the youngest person is the bartender. He's like 50 years of age. So, you know, there's not really a whole lot going on in Larrimah. And everybody also kind of sort of absolutely hates each other in Larrimah, because, again, it's like, what else have you got to do? You got to know these people, and then hate is just like a natural evolution of knowing somebody. Paddy himself, though, he had a reputation of being like a bit of a shit stirrer. There were feuds over dogs, bush burning, signage, whatever there was to talk about, it would be fought about. Strangers, tourists would come in from time to time. And it wasn't buzzing, though, by any means, and of course, as you can imagine, no one stayed. The day Paddy vanished was, in a place like this, it was much like any other. It was December 16th, 2017. He came in, he did his work, he drank his beers. That day, actually, something sort of interesting happened. A family of tourists were just passing by. They decided to pop the old head in, and one member of the family was so enamored with Paddy's dog, Kelly, they actually gave him half a roast chicken to give to the dog. Happy days. That day, Paddy actually drank more than his routine beers, which was 8. This day, he actually drank 10, leaving the Pink Panther pub shortly after like 6 p.m. that day. He was on his quad bike with Kelly in the back, heading off just down the street, just back home. By all accounts, he did make it, but by all accounts also, he was never seen again. It took the first detective, who would be the lead investigator into this missing persons case, 8 days to respond, and it also took them 5 hours to get to Laram from Darwin. That's how isolated this place is. And that's when the investigation could actually finally begin, but as you probably have guessed, a lot of time for things to, just go missing. But the lead investigator, he went into Paddy's home, which is kind of a little shackaroony, not really a whole lot there. What he found, Paddy, after he left the Pink Panther pub that day, December 16th, Paddy made it home. The half roast chicken was still there. Paddy's hat and his glasses were there. Paddy even had dumplings, a few dimmies, like he was about to make dinner. Like he was preparing dinner and then just didn't. Then just left the house and was never seen again. His wallet, still there, still in the house, had 200 books in it. After Paddy left the Pink Panther pub that night, it took people a couple of days to really, truly notice that he had gone missing. Paddy sometimes kind of kept to himself a little bit, but he didn't do any chores around the town. He had asked to borrow somebody's lawnmower. He never showed up to collect it. People then began asking around, "Oh, where's Paddy? Where's Paddy? Have you seen him?" No, till somebody, it was actually his friend who owned the Pink Panther pub. He went in, couldn't find him at all in his home, called the police. Some initially thought maybe Paddy had a heart attack where he'd been, bitten by a snake. They looked around in the local bushlands, no sign of him. Police searched for 3 days, searching 50 miles by land and air, and found absolutely nothing. Divers searched nearby rivers, ditto. If Paddy had gotten into trouble out in the bush, and Paddy, 70 years of age, so getting on just a little bit, but everyone would say Paddy was extremely healthy, he had an extremely strong heart. If he had gotten in trouble, though, out in the bush, it's Australia. You think his dog, though, Kelly, would... That's what everyone was saying. If Paddy got in trouble, Kelly, the dog, would have alerted somebody. The fact that they couldn't actually find his dog was almost sort of like more worrying than the fact they couldn't find Paddy himself.
The key to this is the dog. Where's the dog? Because the dog hasn't come back. Find Paddy, find the dog, you'd probably find Paddy with him.
Now, this entire area to Aborigines was said to be haunted, spirit country. Weird things happened out here, and it's best avoided. Pretty ominous. And serial killers were known to have operated in this area in the nearby highways. Wild boars had killed people in this part of Australia, and along with probably everything, literally everything else. It was possible that whatever happened to Paddy was just some random incident or attack or whatever. But it just wasn't very likely. And so, finding nothing outside of the town, police began to look into the town, because something was very wrong in Larrimah. Police began to look at the 11 remaining residents of Larrimah and its feuds, at the centre of which was Paddy most of the time. The pub owner, a fellow named Barry Sharp, right? And he owned the Pink Panther pub where Paddy worked and he drank, and there was a river out back of the pub that had a great big crocodile in it. You need to get rid of a body, that'll do. That'll do just fine. But Barry was actually one of Paddy's few friends in town.
Come over here, Mom, as we all know now. Excuse me, cigarette smoke. Mate, he loved this country. He loved this area. He was happy as a pig in shit. He had everything he ever wanted.
However, the bartender of the Pink Panther pub was Richard Simpson, who was a drunk and didn't like Paddy because oftentimes Paddy was above him in the pecking order of the business. They also fought over dogs. Paddy loved dogs. Kelly went with him everywhere. Richard Simpson had 2 American Staffordshire Terriers which tended to attack other dogs. That led Paddy into conflict with Richard Simpson over dogs. Again, this is Australia with snakes and spiders and crocodiles. So kind of everything is going to kill you. So I feel like the Staffordshire Terriers are probably like the least of your problems living out there if you have a dog. Who really hated Paddy, though, was a woman named Fran Hodges.
I've had trouble with him all along. Big trouble. He started stirring shit around town about what I was doing in in the kitchen and how much he was selling the pies for, and it was this and it was that, because he was very jealous, you see, very jealous of what I've got here, and plus the pub on opposition to the pub.
Now, she had a tea shop which was very close to Paddy's home. And when I say close, I mean across the road from Paddy's home. They used to be good mates, best mates, vibe ever. Paddy, he had like heart surgery at one point. She would bring him food and drinks and that sort of thing. But over the years, their beautiful friendship, it unblossomed, deblossomed into a shit show. She would constantly accuse Paddy of stealing shit from her property. She was heard on more than one occasion that she was going to kill him. The guests to her tea and pie shop across the road from Paddy's, he was pretty pissed off that people going into her place that would park on his property. Didn't like that at all. He also didn't like the signs to her shop, which were constantly growing in size. He thought they were a bit of an eyesore as he was eyeballing them, like more or less pretty constantly. So he started to say that her pie was shit. Don't eat the pie there, which apparently was sacrilege. When the Pink Panther pub where Paddy worked, they started doing their own pies. Have a pie and a pint. Paddy put up a sign saying, "Best pies in town." That way, right across from Fran's pie shop. So she did not appreciate that at all. They then started throwing roadkill. Like, I'm talking Australian roadkill onto each other's properties, which means dead kangaroos. Kangaroos are huge.
I used to go over there and the dog wouldn't eat me pie. Fran's pies. Yeah. True word. And this has got chunky meat and everything like that either. Yeah. And I tell them the truth. Bloody hell. When they pull up at my place up at the road, yeah, I tell them fair dinkum. Yeah. And that's what happens. And Fran's is the worst gas bagger in town.
They would even take each other to court over this kind of shit. She would accuse Paddy of poisoning. She had like a great big garden. She would accuse Paddy of pouring oil into her flower pots and shit like that, killing off her plants. Theories began. Had Paddy been fed to the crocodiles? Or another one, which is my favorite. Had Paddy been killed, put into her oven, which is a really hot oven, and then put into meat pies, chopped up and put into them. I like that.
No, I hated his guts, but I never spoke to him.
Okay.
He'd done a lot of damage here for 10 years. And
He's a big supporter of the pies down
yeah,
the pub.
that's right.
You swear that you had
I swear on my mother's grave, and my father's grave been dead for 40, 50 years, and my grandkids. I've got 9 grandkids, and I can swear on their life that had nothing to do with Paddy.
Now, Fran Hodges, she had 2 men in her life who also knew of Paddy and knew him well. One was a guy named Bill Hodges.
So, what do you think happened to him?
Well, something like that could. For sure.
He was actually friends with Paddy. Now, he was not Fran's husband. They'd just been lifelong partners, and she had taken his name for whatever reason. She hated Bill now, so I guess she regretted taking his name. The other guy, though, was Owen Laurie, who was Fran's gardener, and he was also sort of like her confidant. A lot of shady characters and old grudges, and gunshots had been heard the night before Paddy vanished. But around here, gunshots weren't terribly unusual. All sorts of wildlife and, well, it's Australia. Another suspect was that recluse who I mentioned who lived in Larimer, Owen Laurie. So reclusive, he only ever talked to Fran, that some other people who lived in the town didn't even know what he looked like. A few days before he vanished, Paddy had been in a massive argument with Owen, almost coming to blows over his dog, Kelly, trying to jump Fran's fence. Owen, Fran's gardener, did not like that, and apparently they started screaming and roaring at each other, the old, "I'm gonna friggin' kill you," and then somebody disappears for the odds. But they were not, that was no good for Owen when Paddy finally vanished. And then, by Owen's own admission, what were you doing when Paddy vanished? We got 11 people here. Owen, he had the most unusual story of all about what he was doing the night Paddy vanished. He said he was on his computer at home, clackety having a little, JO session, as you do. And then he got a message on his computer, virus detected. You got McAfee or Norton antivirus said, you got viruses on your computer, because he was jacking it. He then says, oh shit, because he's old and thinks he has to do something about this. He then goes to the only payphone in Larimer, because he's like, oh my god, my computer's bollocks. I'm going to have to call somebody about this. I'm going to have to call those antivirus people. He goes then to the only payphone in Larimer and makes 2 calls, both of which go unanswered to his antivirus software company. Those calls were made As I said, the night Paddy vanished at 6:30 and 6:31 p.m. when Paddy was known to have left the pub and would have been there because the payphone was also directly opposite where Paddy Moriarty lived. Now, Owen Laurie had been a boxer in the past, and you would say he had osteoporosis, weak bones. So if he attacked anybody, he would break an arm. So he would say, might. He didn't attack anybody. Sure, if he did, he'd do more damage to himself. Though also, this recording would come out of Owen saying he was going to beat him to death with a hammer. So...
Secret police recordings taken from the property across the road from Paddy Moriarty's house, which they played in court. F***ing idiots, tell them what I've done. Tell them how I hit you with a f***ing hammer. Counsel assisting the coroner, Kelvin Curry, played 8 distorted recordings alleging the boys belonged to the gardener, Owen Laurie. I killerated old Paddy. I f***ing killerated him. Struck him on the head and killerated him. Basherated him. Doof. Yes, he did it. Basherated him. Mr. Laurie denied it was his voice, telling the court that wasn't me.
Owen denied any threats were exchanged about a dog and a fence. But he also said to Fran, when he saw the police searching Paddy's home after he vanished, he actually thought the cops were coming for him instead. Owen later left town, as did Fran, and no physical evidence, blood, anything like that has ever been found as to what happened to Paddy Moriarty. The police, they searched the area where that Jumbo Croc lived, out back of the Pink Panther. They searched, the waterways. They found no evidence that a human body had been chomped on, anything like that. No one knows what happened to Paddy.
It's now 5 years since Paddy Moriarty last stepped inside his local and ordered a cold one. He went home that night with his dog Kelly and hasn't been seen since. In April, an inquest found Paddy was murdered, but the coroner did not specify who may have been responsible and could not establish a cause of death. The file has been sent to prosecutors. During the inquest, neighbours Fran Hodgetts and Owen Laurie both denied any involvement, and nobody has been charged with any crime, leaving passers-by to speculate about what went on.
So nobody knows what actually happened to Paddy Moriarty. Okay, scratch that. Somebody knows what happened to Paddy, but they ain't saying, and they're likely going to take that secret to the grave with them. Thank you so much for watching, folks. It means the absolute world to me. As always, that you're here watching this whole video, I can't thank you enough. The next video will be up next week, so do yourself a favor and give it a go. Or you can check out the podcast, That Chapter.
That chapter. One love, guys. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Tornado documentary. I have some docs set up. I have some other stuff. I'll be back soon. Honestly, you get on my honesty. Last man played you like Monopoly. Damn, tragedy. Now you living happily. Trapped to me, no one's coming after me. It's only us. Hope you know you hold me up. Photos on the gram, damn, I love it when you show me up. Boys mad, got that girl they dream about. Girls mad, cause I ain't as free
say, take me like it. I'll always hold you, don't you care? 'Cause what can I let you go?
Yeah, holding tight, this ain't happen overnight. It's cold tonight, so you sleeping alright. Texting me, told you come have sex with me. Respectfully, think about you sexually. Yes, thankfully, you forever stuck with me. Yes, trusting me, can't believe you fuck with me. December hit, tell me you remember it. Watch it to my family and my mama said it's definite. Boys mad, got the girl they dream about. Girls mad, cause I ain't as free now. Mom's mad, cause I show my teeth now. In it for the long haul, I won't ever creep out. What can I let you go? What can I let you go? First start to say, take me like it. I'll always hold you, don't you care? 'Cause what can I let you go?
Cheers.
They've been called the ghost ships of the Wiscasset. It's been said that they were once the most photographed ships in the world. Whatever you want to call them, out of the over
I was going
500
to go,
built, the
but
Hesper
let's
and Luther
let this
Little
play
were
for
the
me.
very last of the four-masted wooden ships that once sailed the coastal waters of North America. This is the story of two sister ships built in the same yard and launched within a few months of each other, who sailed very different careers but for the same owner, and were ultimately reunited for their long, drawn-out fates on the shores of Maine. The true history of these ships is becoming mythology and lore. In researching for this video, I found conflicting newspaper articles about what shipyards built them. I found heated debates over their namesakes, or why the ships ultimately ended up abandoned. I found arguments over which ship was actually which, printed in the newspapers. For this video, we're going back to the original source material. We're meeting with some of the people who were involved in an effort to peel back the confusion and go back to the original facts. To help with this, I'm visiting the Wiscasset Public Library, which also happens to be the oldest continuously circulating library in the United States. And they've shared their extensive archive on these vessels with me. To tell their stories right, we need to start off by looking at each ship individually. The older of the two ships is the Luther Little, the schooner that sat closest to the shore. The Luther Little was built by the Reed Brothers Shipyard in Somerset, Massachusetts, and designed by Bowden, Crown and Shield, whose firm, Crown and Shield Shipbuilding, took over the yard before the ships were launched. Placing the order was a shipping company out of Boston named Rogers and Webb, and they also ordered the Hesper. The Luther Little was actually the second construction by that name. You see, the Reed Brothers Shipyard suffered a major fire that took out the majority of the yard, as well as the Luther Little, still in construction, on the stocks. And then the ship needed to be rebuilt from the ground up. This new ship was launched fully rigged on December 17th, 1917. She was 202 feet long and 40 feet across, registering 1,224 tons. The hold was nearly 20 feet deep and could hold a shipment of around 2,000 tons of coal, while the accommodations inside for the crew were quite lavish and comfortable, particularly those of the captains. Whom the ship drew its name from is a bit of a debate. One argument that I actually saw in a 1917 newspaper covering the launch of the ship is that the Luther Little was named for Luther Little, a steel magnate out of New York.
Another theory that I've heard more often, which I honestly think is more likely, is that it was named for the Revolutionary War hero, Luther Little. He was a midshipman aboard the American ship Protector, and he was wounded in battle against the British warship Admiral Duff, although he survived his wounds and actually later went on to become an American privateer. The Luther Little's first captain was W.P. Richardson, who sailed her on voyages up and down the East Coast, often aiding tangentially in the efforts of the First World War. Now, speaking of tangents, it was a hot summer day in June of 1918 when two balloonists, Arthur Houghton and Edward Packard, took off in a balloon from the Naval Air Station at Cape May, New Jersey. They floated across the bay and drifted down to Delaware when they began to lose altitude. Now, it's a balloon you can't really steer. You're at the mercy of the wind. And they ended up being pushed out over the Atlantic Ocean as they dropped further and further. Those same winds that pushed the balloon dangerously over the ocean were also pushing the Luther Little along the same shore. Captain Richardson spotted the falling balloon and ordered his ship to pursue it. The balloon crashed into the sea, but the Luther Little was there just in the nick of time to save both balloonists and recover their balloon. Although I've heard that the Luther Little did cross the Atlantic, I can't confirm this. The farthest port of call that I can actually find is in South America. And then in 1920, she sailed for Haiti, where she was overloaded with logwood, bound for Chester, Pennsylvania, and couldn't clear the harbor. She grounded for 2 weeks as the crew tried to free the ship, finally becoming unstuck without any significant damage. As the mid-1920s approached, Rogers and Webb hit some hard financial times, and by 1925, the Luther Little was laid up in Portland, Maine. It's here that her story would reunite with her sister, the Hesper. The Hesper was the larger of the two, though not by much, and was the schooner that sat farther from the shore. She was ordered around the same time as the Luther Little and built by the same shipyard. Now, the Luther Little cost somewhere around $125,000 to build. So the Hesper was probably a little bit more than that, being the larger of the two vessels. Once completed, she was 210 feet long, 41 feet across, and registered 1,348 tons. Her launch was advertised for July 4th and actually had quite a turnout. She was christened and sent soaring down the slipway towards the water. The rudder splashed, and then that was it. She sat there. What actually happened was the ship was so heavy and the slipway was a little on the cheaper side, so it collapsed under the weight and the Hesper was stuck there. Now, an old-time sailor might call that a bad omen, and they might be onto something. For although the career of the Hesper was not terrible, it wasn't that great. In 1920, the first mishap struck. She left Norfolk, Virginia, carrying a full load of coal bound for Boston. As she rounded Massachusetts, a harsh storm whipped up, tore her sails to pieces, and tossed her out to sea. She limped into Portland, Maine, and was stuck there until she could be repaired. On 2 occasions early in her career, the ship sailed to Lisbon, Portugal with coal, and then down to Venezuela to pick up guano to bring back to the States. For at least part of her career, the ship was under the command of a Captain Haskell, who was described by his crew as a mean old stinker. He overworked the men and overworked the ship. On at least one occasion, one of his crewmen grabbed a gun and took shots at him. They missed, and the crewman was arrested. In 1925, while leaving Boston, the ship's anchor fouled in the mud, and a lighter was needed to free her. A month later, on the return trip entering Boston, the ship grounded, and 9 tugs were needed to free her. In 1928, due to the financial difficulties of Rogers and Webb, resulting from the decreasing demand for sailing ships, the Hesper was laid up in Rockport, Maine. In that same year, a terrible winter storm ripped through Rockport, not only tearing the ship from its moorings, but sending the ship clean through its wharf, tearing the wharf to pieces. The ship was then washed up on the beach. It needed to be freed and damages were slight, but although the ship was sitting idly, it was still costing the company money. After that, the ship was towed down to Portland, where she joined her sister in layup. In 1932, a U.S. Marshal auctioned off company assets from Rogers and Webb in order to settle claims against them, including the Hesper and the Luther Little. They were bought by a man from Auburn, Maine, named Frank W. Winter. He bought the Hesper for $600 and the Luther Little for $525. From there, he towed them up to Wiscasset, Maine. Shortly after the American Revolution, back in the days of the original Luther Little, Wiscasset was one of the leading harbors and shipbuilders in all of Maine. Although that era had long passed by 1932, the arrival of the two large schooners was a real treat for the town. The reason Frank bought these ships and brought them here was simple, but ambitious. He got a little carried away playing railroad tycoon too, and had recently acquired the Wiscasset, Waterville, and Farmington Railway, a narrow gauge railroad that ran from the wharves of Wiscasset up into Maine through various towns and logging camps, some of which he had an interest in. Frank intended to use the railroad to haul lumber down from these logging camps down to Wiscasset and load them aboard the Hesper and the Luther Little. They would sail them into Portland, and then another railroad would haul that lumber off. On the return trip, they'd bring in a shipment of coal for his railroad and mills. It was a straightforward enough plan, but the logistics simply didn't work out. On June 15th, 1932, while Frank was struggling to get his plans off the ground, one of his locomotives, number 8, derailed, blocking his track completely. It's rumored that he went broke over this derailment and had to give up his plans, but that doesn't seem to be the case. The dude was loaded. He didn't go broke over a simple derailment. He seems to have simply given up out of frustration. The railroad, which was being run by a friend of his, was failing, and his logging camps were running out of wood to haul. He gave up on his plans within only a few days of buying the two ships, but still in September of 1932, he towed them into Wiscasset without any real plans for them because he had to put them somewhere. For the first few years, they were at anchor offshore. He had a captain and his family living aboard the Luther Little, and 2 maintenance workers, a father and son duo, living aboard the Hesper, to keep the ships ready should he decide to do something with them. He attempted to sell the ships off several times, but he claimed that the government blocked the sale every time. On one occasion, he had a very eager buyer with cash in hand from St. John, New Brunswick, but the sale was once again blocked. He never found out why. Eventually, he just gave up in frustration. When he finally did give up for good, sometime between 1936 and 1940, the steam winches were fired up on both ships for one last time, and they were used to pull the ships closer to the shore and become beached in the mud. Here they'd stay, Luther Little being the closest to land, and Hesper nearly leaning into her. The machinery was then removed, and the ships were stripped of anything of value or use. Around that same time, the masts of the Hesper were deemed a safety hazard and were cut down, but the masts of the Luther Little would remain standing almost until the very end. The coming decades were not kind to these ships.
Yeah, they were VE Day. Some miscreants set them afire in celebration, and the back decks of a couple of them kind of burned down, collapsed. They got the fire out.
The pilings we see along the waterfront are the posts of the old narrow gauge railroad wharves.
Narrow gauge railroad. It ran right through just about where we're standing. The pilings you see right behind me at Union Wharf, one of them leaned up against the end of it, and the other one was inside of it and back here, and just back of it a little bit, up beside it.
The rail line had been coming through here for decades prior to the arrival of the Hesper and the Luther Little, with both passenger and freight services. But the wharf activity was expanded in vain under Frank Winter.
The water was at the bank of the railroad almost. The wharfs here were built where previous wharfs were.
So we're not going to see much laying around here, but we can see the remains of a lot of the wharves that the Hesper and Luther were leaning against. Interestingly, we do actually see something. Now, I can't guarantee it's actually from the Hesper or the Luther, but it's worth pointing out. You see, the two ships, as we know, were coal carriers at one point in their career, and there's a whole bunch of chunks of coal along here. There is, of course, a railroad going to my right, and it's possible that it came from there. It's possible it came from somewhere completely different, but there's always a chance that that's just some remains of the coal that was once on board the Hesper and the Luther. We do know that when the two ships were towed into Wiscasset, there were still a few tons of coal down in their holds. Here's where one of the biggest inaccuracies has crept into the usual common telling of this tale. It's said that the ships were abandoned in 1936 as a result of Frank Winter's death. But Frank Winter didn't die in 1936. He actually lived almost another 30 years, dying at the ripe old age of 102. He simply left them there all this time, not having a plan for them and not being able to sell them. He died in 1965. Around that time, the Wiscasset Industrial Development Committee was formed with plans to preserve the history of the town's waterfront. They bought the two ships from the Frank Winter estates. The fire back in 1945 damaged the Hesper II greatly, but the committee was considering restoring the Luther Little and turning it into a tourist attraction. The ships were already becoming iconic, symbolizing a lost era of shipbuilding. Despite their neglect, the Hesper and Luther Little were now the last remaining 4-masted schooners in the world, and the importance of their preservation grew. They did fall apart over the years, but despite that, nobody wanted them removed. These derelict vessels had now been woven into the fabric of the town. Musician Gordon Bach even wrote a song about the two ships, and they became a cultural icon. It was all built of Douglas fir and oak and yellow pine, 200 feet sailed by a crew that numbered only 9, loading lumber through your timber parts and dyewood from the south, running home from Norfolk, bearing coal to heat the north. It's said that tens of thousands of photographs were taken of the Hesper and the Luther Little over the decades, with some even claiming that they were the most photographed ships in the whole world.
The only one that ever made any money off them was Eastman Kodak.
Legends sprung up around the ships, and the history became muddled. As they became known as the ghost ships of Wiscasset, they also became a popular place for kids to go hang out and play, with them jumping aboard and climbing below decks, or going up the masts and falling and breaking a leg.
One of the things to do was to climb the rat lines and tie a hanky to the top of the mast. Not advised, and don't get caught, but some did it.
Did you ever do?
I would never admit it.
So there's sort of a tradition that we had, some of us local hooligans. We would sort of try to light the ships on fire every 4th of July. Not in a really destructive way. We just wanted to see if we could actually huck something all the way out from the railroad tracks all the way onto the deck. And of course, if something happened to actually catch fire and burn a little bit, it was terribly exciting. I don't think we really thought about what we were doing, and I think it's certainly pretty sad when we realized that it was ultimately a fire that really took them down beyond repair.
A fire did break out aboard the Hesper July 4th in 1978. This put the Hesper, which was already in bad shape, into rapid decline. The fire inspired the town to organize a preservation group called the Friends of the Wiscasset Schooners. They raised enough funds to conduct an expensive survey of the ship. It cost $18,000 around 1980. And the surveys concluded that both ships were too far gone to save. And then the efforts of the preservation group died off almost instantly. Another fire broke out in 1980, and by then the Luther Little's masts were leaning precariously, putting additional strain on the structure and making the ships all the more unsafe. Believe it or not, an earthquake struck the area and took out the Luther Little's aft mast. In 1991, a fire broke out aboard the Luther Little after someone shot a flare gun at it. Eventually, it became less of a question of how to save these schooners and more so what to save from them. A storm battered the ships in 1995, taking out the last of the Luther's masts. The ships were in bad shape at that time, but believe it or not, there was one final hope to preserve them in the current state that they were in.
There was a chance that we could have got a federal grant here and some state money as well to do a mitigation on the rot in the ships and do some preservation work. And the town did go to
Kitty,
a vote
yeah.
on whether or not to do that work because it would have been some town expense as well. And the town of Wiscasset citizens decided to not go forward with the project.
The Hesper completely collapsed on itself, and it was finally decided that the ships needed to be demolished and removed. This happened in the spring of 1998.
You're disgusting, dude. Go fuck yourself.
Got the job that going out. They came in with a big barge and a 100-ton crane with a lot of boom on it. Some of those things, and they just started picking the pieces out with a clamshell and putting it in the barge, and then they would swing it ashore and pile the what I dug out right here. That was above high water was getting rotten. That was below high water was as solid as the day it was built. And they came apart very hard when we rode them. When we hauled them out, anybody that wanted anything could pick out of the pile of stuff that came here.
They kind of just put them in a local dump, which was pretty sad for a lot of us. My folks went out on an adventure, as a lot of the local townies did, and just got some pieces and brought them home because it's a part of us. It's always been a part of us. So when they brought this piece home, and you can kind of see, really see up top, it has a wooden peg in it. We don't know what part of the ship this would be. Presumably some exterior part. It's very weathered. It's a large beam from either the Hesper or the Luther Little. We have no way to tell which one.
Whatever was left was hauled away to the dump, although the dump continued dispersing pieces of the ship to collectors over time. In 2005, the Maine Maritime Museum in Bath was able to haul away some large pieces of the ship. The museum is built around what was once the Percy and Small shipyard, which built massive schooners such as the Wyoming, a wreck that I've covered on this channel. In their blacksmith shop, you would find the largest portion of the Luther Little that still exists, at least to my knowledge. This giant section of the Luther Little's foremast is known as the doubling. You'll notice that the masts of the ship are actually two segments, and where they overlap is a large reinforcing piece known as a doubling. Heavy equipment and rigging are still mounted to it, giving us a sense of scale of these enormous vessels. The museum also features a beautiful scale model of the Hesper and the Luther Little when they were at Wiscasset, and this model inspired me to first look into this story. The age of these massive old schooners is more gone than you realize. Now that the Hesper and the Luther Little have been completely demolished, this obliterated hulk right here holds the title of being the largest surviving wooden hull ship from the era, of course not counting the sunken ones. This is the Cora F. Cressy, built by Percy and Small in 1902, an occasional running mate of the old Wyoming. I've done a video about this ship on my channel as well. It should be noted that while the Hesper and the Luther Little were the last remaining four-masted schooners in the world, since they held that title in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, at least two modern four-masted schooners have been built, although these ones don't hold the same historical significance, and they were never in the same service. Although the Hesper and Luther Little have long since vanished from the mud flats where they rested, their legacy remains. The town of Wiscasset still looks back fondly on the two vessels, even now hosting an event every summer called Schooner Fest. Historical markers, including an augmented reality display, can be found at the site. There they are. But not really. Remnants of the wharf are still there, and various pieces of equipment from the ship sit there in the grass as reminders.
The bollard from the ship.
Right here. Battery died. I won't be here for too much longer. However, I did see that nasty little comment that came through. Hi, babies. I And my response to that would be one of two things, either nothing or why would you come on a nail tech's social media and then complain when she periodically does her nails? What the fuck? What? Okay. What do you mean? Hello. Oh, monkey. Oh, careful, that's probably not safe. You're so sweet. Oh, careful. Meow. Ow, gentle with those claws. Monkey. I'll give you one more bowl pack for the night, sweets. Sweet, darling collective. Cheers. Please remember to pray. Do no harm, take no crap. And I will absolutely catch you on the next one. Namaste. Blessings.